spent about half of the 2020s hosting a podcast called Delayed Replay, recapping and reviewing movies that came out on time in my universe but got delayed in that other universe. And as such, the movies as they were in my universe came out differently. Some listeners not of this universe even think that this is an improvised comedy podcast. And hey, let them think what they want. It's entertaining either way, right? I'm Steven Shinder, and you're listening to Delayed Replay Season 6. Hashtag 6 seasons about movies. New episode every other Saturday. Unless I say otherwise. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. I'm your host, Steven Shinder, and this episode we're talking about Jurassic World Rebirth in our universe. It came out last year, and we figured we'd finally do an episode on it since it's about to come out in that other universe sometime soon. So joining me once again, it is Jesse from the Cinemaybes podcast. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Steven. Doing pretty good. Excited to finally talk about this movie.
Yeah, same here. And like in preparation for, getting back into the whole like Jurassic mood and whatnot, I re-listened to that Dominion episode that I did with Star Raptor, Mondo, and Zach a few years ago. And they're not on this one like because of scheduling, but that kind of fits because it's like, oh, the classic trio from the original Jurassic Park was in Dominion, and now in Rebirth it's like a new team or whatever. But I was re-listening to that episode and we went on so many funny tangents. I sometimes forget how funny my friends are, I guess. I don't know if that's a goofy way of saying that, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go back and listen to that one, so I don't know. I know the guys though. They're great guys, funny guys.
Yeah, I guess to start off with this discussion, for those who don't know, like, what's been your history with the Jurassic franchise?
Oh, introduced to it at a young age. I mean, I was too young whenever the first movie came out, and I still saw it. It was nightmare fuel for a while, but still one of my favorite movies, even with the nightmare fuel. And like, I've just always loved the movies more than the shows, really. Like, I like the animation and stuff. I just don't think the two worlds mix very well of like dinosaurs and that animation. But I've always loved the movies. The newer ones, not so much.
Right. Yeah, for me, it's kind of the reverse where I prefer the animated shows over most of the movies. Um, so I guess in a way, it's kind of like there's something for everyone. Like, hey, if you don't like this side of the franchise that much, you got this other side of the franchise. And of course, there's also video games and stuff like that. And I also remember being like really young whenever my older brother was watching the original movies, and like I had to be told like, oh, the people who got eaten, they take them out of the dinosaurs later, even though like that certainly did not actually happen in the movies, but I'd only seen like parts of the movies, so I guess as the way of trying to make me not as scared or something.
Yeah, I didn't get anything like that. The thing that stood out to me was in the original movie, whenever I think it's the lawyer gets eaten by the Tyrannosaurus, the one that's in the bathroom. And I would always have this nightmare of being in that situation and having that happen. And then I was inside the dinosaur that was like a mechanical machine.
Yeah, kind of like an Ace Ventura When Nature Calls type thing.
Yes, almost exactly. Like,
Oh man,
see the gears and stuff.
yeah, that scene in itself from Ace Ventura is nightmare fuel. I still can't believe it exists.
There's a lot in those movies that I'm surprised exist now.
Yeah. Oh man, the 90s were a weird time. But yeah, this is a franchise that has it still survives. Life finds a way to steal a line from the movie verbatim. um and of course the movies also like stem from two novels. There's Jurassic Park, and I think the second one was called The Lost World. It's been forever since I um like read those. It was like forever ago. But
I've
yeah,
read
it's
the first one recently, like within like the past couple of months, but the second one, I'm still trying to find like a good version.
yeah, I remember for me the writing style was kind of tough to get into, but I mean, it was popular enough to spawn a franchise. So it's really wild, like how far this franchise has come. And now we have Jurassic World Rebirth to talk about here. So in this one begins 5 years after the events of Dominion. So, there are still dinosaurs around in the world, and uh, there are even like countries that are trying to militarize dinosaurs and stuff like that. We're introduced to Zora Bennett, played by Scarlett Johansson, and we see her working with some people, and eventually she meets Dr. Henry Loomis, who's a paleontologist, and they end up getting recruited for this team that's led by Duncan Kincaid, played by Mahershala Ali. And basically, they are supposed to get some DNA from three of the largest dinosaurs on the island where the original research facility is on, and it's supposed to save millions of lives. Like, they kind of quickly explain some of this stuff and keep some of it close to the chest. But so far, what'd you think of this setup here?
I liked that we were getting new characters in this world that's already got so many people that have been at the forefront. It was nice to kind of see the approach to the story be more like outside the almost back to the original style, except I don't know. It felt good to be this approach instead of already on the island like we got the last trilogy. I forgot just how much I loved that scene.
Yeah, I guess it's fitting that it's like a rebirth of sorts. They're trying to refresh the franchise.
It
And
also had me thinking that we weren't going to see any new dinos though, because the way that they phrased it. Because it was like the three largest. I was like, okay, so the three largest at the time of that event would have been these three. They're going to go get those three.
oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like, I guess I was kind of just sitting back and just letting the movie wash over me, eating my popcorn and whatnot. Um, I did not get the Jurassic popcorn bucket, but
Yeah, so I just didn't like putting my hand into that bucket. I got it. But, that big giant Tyrannosaurus mouth open at you.
yeah,
Looks cool.
I guess a teeth can be kind of a hindrance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they should rethink how they designed their popcorn buckets.
They need to go back to basic ones that don't have lids and just have the bucket be an actual design. It's that simple.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that Disney movie Dinosaur, the one from like 2000, and it's like 3D animated mixed with some, I guess, live action stuff?
I don't think I ever saw it all the way through. It was one of those I was just kind of caught in pieces, I think.
Okay. Well, I remember I used to have like this rubber hand puppet thing of like the main dinosaur from that movie, Aladar. And yeah, it's kind of a funny piece of merchandising, I guess. Like, you wouldn't really think about it.
I think I know the puppet you're talking about.
Right. So we have this team, they're on the ship and heading to the island, and we get a bit of character work, like how, we first see Henry Loomis's day-to-day job, working as a paleontologist, and he tries to educate people at the museum, but it seems like they kind of don't care. So it feels like they're trying to have us sympathize with him, being like, oh, like nobody likes what he has to say. What did you think of that approach?
I don't remember. Like it was one of those things that I was kind of skipped over. It that portion of like the character setup, it just wasn't the character I was interested in. I don't know what it was.
Okay. Well, it kind of felt to me like they were trying to make him like a pseudo Ross Geller, like from Friends, even to the point of having him hum, or I guess sing the song Baby Got Back to himself, like in that one Friends episode. And so he's embarrassed when he turns around and sees that Scarlett Johansson, Zora Bennett, is there when they first meet each other.
That's the oh, I couldn't tell what song he was doing. I was just like, oh, he's doing some goofy hum, and maybe that was part of what I didn't like. It was like, I don't know. I personally didn't like Ross anyway, so maybe that's why. Like it just kind of carried over.
No, yeah, Ross is definitely the worst of the friends. Yeah, like I remember seeing an edit on YouTube where someone took a scene where Ross is yelling, but they take out the laugh track, so it feels very menacing and kind of horrifying. So yeah, he's a character who has a lot of issues. So it was definitely a strange choice trying to make Henry Loomis kind of like Ross in some ways.
I mean, Friends has kind of gotten a resurgence lately. It seems like so they're just trying to pull in wherever they can. They're like paleontologists, boom.
Yeah. Right. And he talks about how this mission will help him with his reputation, and he'll probably get like a good, foot in the door with this graduate school dean, because I guess he wants to like teach at this really prestigious graduate school place, but like people are like, we're not so sure. They like read his resume, and it's like it's super competitive. So he thinks that if he goes on this mission to like gather the dino DNA, that will basically have his foot in the door. Um, yeah, like I feel like this was like more elaborate than what I expected from a Jurassic movie, honestly, like this type of character background.
Yeah, like all this, and he was calling it a foot in the door, like you said. It's like this is a dinosaur project. You should already be known if you're going for this type of job. Like they're coming to you, so it's kind of interesting to see. Like, well, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. And we also see how Zora, when she has worked with people in this lab place beforehand, how like they'll experiment with dinosaurs, and if someone is like left in a room with like a predatorial dinosaur and there's just no way to let him out without letting the dinosaur out as well, she's just willing to let the guy die, and so this kind of like sets up a bit of tension, because now it's like, oh, if she goes on this mission with Henry and all these other people, like if there's any danger, is she just gonna be out for herself or what? So in some ways it kind of feels like they're trying to inject those, I guess, that survival thriller type of genre. I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah, I don't know. What did you think of all that?
I really liked it because it was you don't know how she's going to act on the island, so it was really fun to see that story play out. Because at the end of the day, she's just doing it contain to contain. We don't want another incident. The safest way, unfortunately, is we're not going to save them. So it's like
Right.
real nice to see that character development throughout, and it's like, well, vocalize, let us know. Everyone's questioning your movements the entire time.
Yeah, and later on we do get kind of a little bit of a flashback where around the time that dinosaurs were unleashed, like at the end of Fallen Kingdom, she's like walking through town and she sees a few people getting eaten by dinosaurs, and by now she's like kind of numb to this new reality where it's like, oh, we just basically live in a Jurassic World. And the title does sound whimsical and everything, but it's in some ways horrifying because it's like anyone can die at the snap of a finger because of some of these dinosaurs that are out in the world, you know?
Yeah, and then I'd noticed, a lot of the times whenever she was in those units, you could see all the files, and it's like, well, it showed how they were getting from what they were using to dinosaurs because they weren't just doing straight on cellular manipulation. They were mutating the rabbits and stuff on the islands.
Yeah, like they really do go into like the nitty gritty on how all that stuff works. Like they even have like that one of those scientific montage sequences where you see like the files and the green computer screen, the digital images. Uh like yeah, it felt kind of 90s in a way.
Yeah, but it was like showing us like, okay, so they weren't all reptilian or amphibian. It's like, okay, so now we're introducing mammalian creatures from that time frame back into the world. It's like, oh, dinosaurs weren't enough.
Yeah. I mean, with a franchise that goes on this long, you kind of have to throw in some new creatures, to keep people's interest. And hey, it helps with the merchandising. I was at Target not too long ago, and they had like this whole aisle devoted to like dinosaurs stuff, and those rabbit things were like among those toys. So I guess they were really thinking with their merchandising brain.
Yeah, I think the design could have been worked a little bit better. Every time I see one, I just think of that scene in Ant-Man whenever he's like goes to the birthday party and gives her the doll, and she's like, "It's hideous. I love it." So maybe they do know what they're doing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think people are into like I guess you'd call it ugly cute, where there's like a creature that looks kind of scary but at the same time somewhat cute. And there is like a fine line. um it's a balance, and I guess that in itself is a science because it's like you have to land right in the middle and not just one way or the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't hit it for me, but I'm just one person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a like a 30-year-old man, so like what do I know? I don't buy these toys, But yeah, so they sail to the island, and they decide, because one of the bits of DNA they need to get is from like one of these flying, I guess, pterodactyls. And so because those are tough to get DNA from because they fly, they are trying to climb to this place to get to the pterodactyl eggs. So what'd you think of this climbing sequence?
I liked it. It seemed like a callback to, I guess, what was that wasn't Lost World. That was three that they had the pterodons and stuff in the birdcage. And so like it seemed very callbacky to that, mainly because we got like the same environment esque, like not necessarily the exact same, but a different part. And just like seeing these different ways of trying to get through, and it's like, oh, maybe you should have gone the way that they went. And then having to battle all that wind the whole time. Typical action shots from the 90s recreated in today's day and age.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better than using the exact same footage from the film. If you're gonna like reuse something, you gotta reshoot it in the new fashion, I guess. Um, but yeah, they get to there are some close calls where someone will like slip off the rock wall, and then you'd have a hand reach down to like grab the person to hold them up, and surprisingly it's Zora who's able to lift this person which I guess are again they're trying to play with our expectations of like, will she be helpful or will she just be like the mission is the mission? But like afterward, she even says, "Oh, we need you because you have experience with gathering DNA from dino eggs like better than the rest of us." So it almost feels more pragmatic and not so much like, "Oh, I care about you" type thing, at least in this moment. I don't know if that was my read on the scene anyway. Is that how it came across to you?
Yeah, I definitely got that same vibe where it was like, yeah, if you didn't have that skill or someone else in the group did, I wouldn't be risking myself to save you. But you're needed right now.
Right. And so as they're gathering the DNA from these eggs, they have this conversation about how they like their eggs cooked for breakfast. Well, like, what'd you think of this conversation here and its purpose?
I felt like it was there for them to try to get their mind off what they were doing. And the best way to do that was to make fun of what they were doing. I thought it hit well. There probably could have been better topics of conversation, but I like the route that they went.
Yeah, like it feels like they want to inject some levity, which is fine. There's levity in each of these Jurassic movies, but it felt kind of on the nose to me that they just went straight for, talking about eggs and how they like them cooked. Um, but maybe that is trying to show us how these people kind of don't know how to talk to each other. They're kind of awkward with each other and don't, they're not well acquainted. They're just strangers on a team, basically. Um, and I mean, one of them, like, there's also like a kid who's like been brought with them for some reason. I feel like these movies try to include a kid character now and then because they're trying to recreate the, I guess, magic of how the kid characters are in the first movie. But I don't know, like in general, how do you feel about kid characters in these types of movies?
So at first I didn't mind it, and then it was whenever, oh, I forget the actors' names, but whenever they started with Jurassic World and they try to make it centered around kids again, or at least frame kids as like a main part of it, I was like, well, I get it. You're just trying to reach out to kids to have them come watch the movie and try to help with marketing and stuff like that and draw them in. Story wise, you don't need them all the time. That kid then had no other reason to be there than to put kids in seats.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's something that works better in like Camp Cretaceous. But of course, we see those kids grow a bit older in Chaos Theory, so they don't have that problem as much there. But yeah, I kind of feel like this is kind of a Spielberg type tradition. You have like these really good kid actors, but sometimes it doesn't translate well in some later films. So yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like they're just like still trying to make it a thing, and I don't know if it always lands really.
Yeah, it didn't land this time. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It continues. Maybe they'll go kidless for once. Or I guess they've done it before. I think no kid.
Right, yeah. And I also got the sense that they thought that including a kid would add more suspense, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I kept thinking to myself, like, it's a Jurassic movie. I know there are all these monsters, but like, this isn't Jaws. I know that the kids are gonna survive, basically.
Right, like it's still rated PG-13, guys. Until we get a an R-rated Jurassic Park that has multiple kids featured, I think the kid's going to be okay.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a tangent, but also kind of relevant. I rewatched Jaws for its 50th anniversary recently, and I think it was rated PG because it was before they got the PG-13 rating, before that became a thing. But even so, it's still kind of surprising, like what they were, like the types of victims that they were able to let the shark have, which you would expect for an R-rated movie, even though they don't like show too much. But yeah, I don't know.
I haven't watched Jaws in so long. I don't like remember much of it except for like a couple of scenes. I'm gonna have to rewatch that one too.
Yeah, and this might be a hot take that'll get me canceled, but I was kind of bored with some of it on this recent rewatch. I know it has its place in cinema history, of course, but yeah, I'm not eager to like sit through it again anytime soon. Unless I make like a drinking game out of it or something. I don't know.
Have to make like a whole event centered around the movie so it doesn't feel so boring in those moments. Have like a sea party night or something and watch it next to a pool.
Oh yeah, apparently that's the thing. Like there have been screenings over the years where people will like watch it while in the water, and it's like, how does that work? It sounds, I don't know, it sounds like kind of
I wouldn't be
like
able to do it.
it'd be tough to do, yeah.
I have
But
issues watching movies about the open water enough. If I can sit through Jaws, though, I'm not doing it poolside.
yeah, and I mean, speaking of sea creatures, we also get the, what's it called? The mosasaur, is that what's called, like the giant fish dinosaur thing?
Yeah, it's like the mosasaur or mosasaurus. I don't remember if they put an us on the end of it or not.
Yeah, maybe it is Mosasaurus. I just know that the, if the other Jurassic boys, our friends, if they're listening to this podcast, they'll be like screaming at the phone, being like, "It's Mosasaurus" or whatever it is. But what'd you think of that sequence? It's like in the middle of a movie when they encounter that, and it's like trying to get at their boat.
I liked that just for a minute. It took us back to like nature, and it was just a fishing boat out there. Oh, we got something big, and it's like, oh yeah, it's a Jurassic movie. Of course, something's gonna happen. But then it was just a whole amazing sequence of like tug of war that led into like I don't know, would you call it tag? Not really, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the music for this movie is done by Alexander Desplat. And I also forgot to mention this one is directed by Gareth Edwards, who of course directed Rogue One, the 2014 Godzilla. So kind of hit and miss to me. I loved Rogue One. I wasn't that into the 2014 Godzilla, but um I thought it was interesting because the composer Alexander Desplat, he was originally slated to do the music for Rogue One, but then I don't remember if it was because of scheduling or what, but they ended up going with Michael Giacchino. And so now it's like he finally gets to work with Gareth Edwards here. And it feels like the theme he makes for the Mosasaur is kind of like a sped up version of the Jaws theme. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I didn't. I'm not good at like getting those things like pointed out to me until like I've watched it a few times, and it's like, okay, this is the music focus. Like watch or like pick a character and focus. Like it takes me a long time before I start noticing that stuff.
No, yeah, I remember after it came out and people were talking about this, I saw people online being like, "Whoa, I gotta go to the theater and watch the movie again to like so that I can pick that out this time." And I'm like, guys, you can just listen to the soundtrack. Like I don't know. I felt like one visit was enough for me, but hey, to each their own, I guess.
I mean, I like to see it in theaters multiple times if I can, if I think it's good. So I get it.
Right, yeah. And we also like, the team also gets attacked by these pterodactyls because they can sense even though they don't have the eggs themselves, they can sense that they extracted DNA. So it's like, holy crap, like how strong are these pterodactyl senses if they think that one of their own is like among these humans and now they're like attacking them.
It was pretty cool to see until like one of the vials broke and like the liquid spread over, and it was like, oh. And then like instead of attacking, that one became protected, but they weren't going to risk all the DNA. So like it was cool to see like the different ways that they do stuff, and but got to see the pterodactyls like hunting and actual like protective instincts kick in like full force.
Yeah. And there's also a sequence where one of the vials that they get, they do the thing where it like falls through a crack in the rocks and then it goes down a waterfall and um like down a long neck and off its tail. Like sequences like that feel kind of annoying to me if they like drag on for too long. It's like, oh, the thing has slipped away. Now it's like going through all these things and we have to get it. And yeah, it feels like too like Polar Express with the ticket that flies through the wind and stuff in the middle of the movie.
Oh yeah, like it's, and also it's like it's glass. It should have broken by the time it hit that waterfall rock. Like by then it should have been done. Why is it still alive? You know, what after that it goes down the tail like you said and gets flicked. It's like that should have broken it too. But it's just fine.
Yeah, and come to think of it, there's a similar scene in that Disney movie Dinosaur that I mentioned, but it has to do with an egg in the beginning of the movie. But yeah, it feels like this was very much just to showcase the scenery of the island, which to their credit looks pretty good. I just don't think they needed to do it in this way because my eyes are focusing on the vial and I'm getting frustrated that it's almost getting stepped on and stuff and they can't get it. So it's like it made me dizzy by the end, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I'm not a big fan of whenever, kind of like in Ant-Man again. whenever he's like like in the disco floor or
Yeah,
whatever. Like the first.
everything goes back to Ant-Man in the Jurassic World.
Well, but it was similar in the same concept. You're focusing on something really small, trying to survive this environment.
Yeah. Hey, maybe Ant-Man should fight the mosquito from these movies. I don't know. Yeah. Um, but yeah, we get all these scenes of peril and it's also like super windy on this island, so there's all sorts of obstacles and things. But and these moments where they sometimes stop to talk and discuss everything and argue and um yeah, I don't know, how did you feel about these scenes whenever they would like take a moment to just discuss everything?
I don't like it whenever a majority of the movie is told through exposition. They got to work it out a little bit. It was okay for a couple of scenes because they're in the moment and stuff or whatever, but way too much of stop and talk.
Yeah, like I feel like they could have cut out a couple of those moments and it would have felt a bit more like, because they're trying to make this a bit more of an action adventure type thing. And so it really puts a brake on the roller coaster when they do too much of that. So yeah, I totally get what you mean. But eventually they end up with the vials that they need and they have to go back to this other well, first of all, before they leave, like what'd you think of how the original research facility looked after all this time?
It looked so it looks two different ways depending on how you look at it. One way it looks awful, and by that I mean it looks great. like nature has overtaken it and brought, and is like in the stage of reclaiming it. And then there's the bits of the facility that still worked barely. But like I thought it was a beautiful like way of like nature taking back. Again, it's just like, yeah, the process is still going on. Life finds a way. Just kind of modeled again.
Yeah, basically. Like, and the music, it kind of felt like the music was trying to be a bit nostalgic. It's like being back on the Millennium Falcon or whatever, but I was like kind of about it, even though the design wise, like I do like that the nature and the plants are like breaking through all this stuff. So yeah, I guess that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, there could have been a better scene for the music throwback, but because you know it's going to happen. It happens in every movie.
Yeah. So once they have the DNA that they need, they head back to this research place in Spain. So they travel through the Guadarrama River, but then they're attacked by other dinosaurs there along the way. What'd you think of this whole river sequence?
It made me remember that the dinosaurs lived amongst us because they spent enough time on the island where I was back in that world. So I was
Yeah.
kind of taken out of it for a second.
Yeah, because up until this point, like we know that this is post uh the recent trilogy and that there are dinosaurs all over the world, but we didn't really get to see much of them in other places apart from that flashback with Scarjo. And then we're on the island, and it kind of feels like, okay, dinosaurs are only on this island. Like you sort of forget because of how isolated it
Right.
feels.
It felt like there was also like communities and like they had worked on, well, this isn't a predator area, it felt like. And just like the horses are out in the fields instead of being in town, the dinosaurs are out in the fields instead of in the town. So you don't see them, so you forget.
Yeah. And it honestly felt like, the sequence with the mosasaur, like it felt like there were maybe they should have only had one water related sequence. Like having both of these in the movie felt like a bit too much for me.
At least we didn't hear the satellite phone go off this time.
Right. So when they bring back the DNA, we learn that the purpose of the dino DNA is not just to help humans who, like they're, I guess some of this kind of went over my head, but I guess their immune systems, like some humans are finding it tough to adapt in this world that's been getting more and more dinosaurs on it. So it's supposed to help with that. But something I did not expect is that the dino DNA is also meant to help like some nearly extinct types of animals adapt better in this world, because it's not just the polar bears, but now in the dinosaur filled world there are other species of animals who are finding it tough to defend themselves against some of these dino predators. And so these scientists are trying to, in a way, make a more balanced ecosystem around the world or something. What'd you think of that revelation?
So the way I read it at first was like, okay, so these guys are just trying to infect everything with dino DNA and mutate, mutate, mutate.
Yeah.
And then it was like reading the blogs and like seeing the videos later. It's like, okay, that seemed explained. It's like, okay, that's not what he was saying. My bad.
Yeah, I think it might be like somewhere in the middle, because yeah, I in my head I was kind of thinking like a bit of, when it was being explained, I was kind of reminded of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I've been reading a lot of those comics recently, so maybe that's why. But yeah, so they want to do their plan, but you also have like some of the team members being like, is this the right thing to do? Like, giving this to like all these different animals, like, are we right to do this? And like, what'd you think of this whole discussion here?
I was against the decision to spread the DNA. So, I mean, I get the conversation had to be had. It was just weird being on like against the heroes on that one because normally movies make you for the heroes the whole time. It's like for me, it felt weird to be against them in that moment.
Yeah, it was very weird because like there were some pros and cons, but I wasn't sure where I landed on this whole thing of like whether or not to spread the dino DNA. And it's especially hard to say when like we don't have to deal with this dinosaur problem ourselves. And so it's like one might not know unless they're in the thick of it. Like, I don't know. That might sound like a cop out answer, but yeah, I just don't know.
I just don't want to mix DNA with the goldfish and wind up with a Gyarados in my backyard.
Oh man. Yeah, that's like one of the biggest leaps in evolution in Pokemon. Like you got this unassuming fish that can only splash, and then it just can turn into this sea dragon thing.
Then again, I kind of would like to see one of those in my backyard. I don't know. Now I might be swayed for it. I don't know.
Yeah, like it'd probably be pretty dangerous, but yeah, I don't know. Um yeah, so like the heroes, they try to take their minds off of this whole thing by going to a casino. But then this casino like gets overrun by other dinosaurs, and so like what'd you think of this scene?
I loved it because one, I wasn't expecting to see a casino in this movie, and so like for them to think, okay, we're going somewhere safe to kind of unwind, and then like, nope, it's not necessarily safe because of rules. We can't put up safety borders or whatever they said, and then like it just gets like demolished. It's like these guys can't catch a break.
Yeah, and stuff has to get impounded. Yeah. But yeah, and this movie is, I guess it kind of feels like they're trying to usher in a new era for these movies. So what'd you think of the way that this particular movie ended?
I mean, it was like right after the casino, and it's like, I feel like they leave it too open. I'm ready for a closed-ended, just like a one-off movie for once, please. We don't need to start a trilogy every time. Let's just have a good one-off story.
Yeah, and they have like this speech where it's like, comparing all this scientific decision making, like comparing it to gambling. So I guess that's why the casino is in the movie, but it felt kind of, I don't know, it felt kind of out of place. Like it's just there for the metaphor or whatever. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like you got this team and you got these scientists, and is it gonna be like an us and them type thing now? Like as they try to spread the dino DNA, like I don't know. Like if I would have liked this to have been more close ended, so I'm with you on that. But I guess they really wanted it to feel like a rebirth, not a rebirth and then stop. I don't know.
Yeah, they just tried to put too much into it, like too much information without the equal amount of payoff.
Right? Yeah. But hey, that's also what gambling is like. Like
True.
using the slot machine and don't gain money, so there might not be payoffs.
Yeah, that is a whole new way to look at the movie now.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you wanted to go over before we go into final thoughts?
Mm, there was a scene, I can't remember where it was. It was just like one of those like someone in the background, like an Easter egg moment, but I don't remember where it was, and I don't remember which one because there were so many. But it was just like the one where I was like, "Oh yes," but I don't remember which one it was now.
Oh, you couldn't remember what the Easter egg was?
Yeah, like I remember like seeing it, but I can't reclaim the scene now.
Well, the moment I remember is when they're in the research facility, and someone accidentally turns on a TV, and it shows that uh, clip from it shows that tutorial with the animation thing. And it's like, oh, okay, like I guess that is still in this facility, and like they're still able to like watch that or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what it was, because it was a different part of the tour facility that was like not seen before, but like same path. So it was like, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, in the original Jurassic Park, I always felt like that animation, like that animated tutorial thing or whatever, like it always felt kind of weird to me, because to me the animation doesn't look as good as it could be, and it feels kind of out of place in the movie, even though I know it's supposed to be like, oh, Jurassic Park is Disneyland but for dinosaurs. But I don't know, I guess that segment always felt weird to me.
I always just thought it was bright colors for the kiddies and okay, parents, you can relax for a few minutes. We got this type of ride.
Yeah. But all right, I guess we can go into final thoughts. So, what are your final thoughts, score out of 10, and unit of measurement for that score for Jurassic World Rebirth?
Um, I mean, I feel like I've already said it. They tried to put a lot into it. Like they brought in too many different storylines without spending enough time with each. The action bits were good. I loved seeing like dinosaurs back in action, but it's kind of, we see it a lot now. Um, Overall, I'd probably have to give it 8 mosasaurs, mosasauruses, mosasauri, whatever the plural term is. Eight of those out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd give it 7 out of 10 um vials just like flying all over the place. Yeah, it just like it had stuff that was enjoyable, but the pacing sometimes felt kind of off. And I do like that they were kind of trying to give arcs to these new characters, but like you said, it kind of felt like there wasn't much of a payoff. Like by the end, we're supposed to think that Scarlett Johansson's character has more of a heart now, but I feel like there wasn't as much confirmation of that. You just kind of assume based on a couple minor moments, but they're not like really big moments. And so I really don't know if they're just saving some of that for like a future movie or something. I mean, uh, are we gonna keep following these characters? Will we meet some more new characters? Will it be an anthology type thing? Like, I don't know, but um, it's yeah, I don't know. Like, it had enjoyable stuff, but it definitely could have been better. But yeah, I don't know. I guess those are my roundabout thoughts on the whole thing. But yeah, I guess with that, thanks for joining me again, Jesse. Where can people find well, tell them about Cinemaybes.
Um, Cinemaybes is another movie-based podcast. We will pick a movie and then make small changes to it and just see how those changes affect the overarching story. Steven, you've been on multiple times. Most recently,
Yeah.
Karate Kid Legend.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
But that can be found on Spotify for sure. Just search for Cinemaybes, you'll find it. And it's probably on other podcatchers too. I just haven't found it on any of them.
So yeah, check that out, and I'll put in the show notes as well. Yeah, I guess that'll do it, and I'll include my plugs in the edit as usual. So thanks for tuning in. This show will be back in 2 weeks, and without further delay, have a good day. And you, dear listener, can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on Ross from Friends, I guess. Oh, what's your take on him? You can also, I recommend checking out the Intergalactic Peace Coalition podcast's archives for the Jurassic themed episodes. You know, stuff about the movies, the shows. You might hear my voice on some of those as well. So, yeah, go check those out. And you can also find me on Yes Shift, a podcast slash vlog I do with my dad. We've interviewed people in Yes or associated with people in Yes. Recently interviewed Steve Hackett, former guitarist of Genesis, and there's some other stuff. And you can also check out Drum Talk TV Brilliance for other music related coolness. We recently did a Q&A with McStein and Miniman. So check that out, as well as the Q&A archives and all the fun stuff going on there. And you can find me at Steven Shinder on whatever socials I'm available on. StevenShinder.com for info on my 2 standalones and stepping stones novels I have out so far. Really trying hard to get back into writing. It's just been a very busy time. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything on my end. But without further delay, here is my other self. Hey everyone, this is Steven from that other universe where things got delayed. Speaking of which, I still have not put another new video on the YouTube channel, Steven Shinder Reviews, in video form just yet. It's been very busy for me, but I'll get back to that when I'm able to. And so what have I been watching lately in the past couple weeks? Well, the TV show Poker Face just finished its 2nd season. It was a lot of fun. I don't know yet if there will be another season, but even if there isn't, it kind of feels like they kind of, leave it here, I guess. Maybe leave it to your imagination what happens after. But I did see that Grosse Pointe Garden Society got canceled, and it's not going to move to Peacock. Not really surprised, and I'm also not sure how much longer they could have stretched the premise. But I did enjoy that show, so even if I'm not sure what more they could have done, it still is a little bit of a bummer, because I really like the people who were involved in that show and played these characters. But I also recently rewatched the UK version of The Office. It had been maybe 15 years since I last saw it, and I think I get the humor now better than I did when I was a teen. So yeah, there's that. I also caught the first 3 episodes of Marvel's Ironheart. They dropped 3 episodes in one night on Disney Plus, which is weird. Like doing that, I guess they're kind of doing the Andor model in that sense, but the series is only 6 episodes, so it's basically just 2 consecutive weeks. We got 3 episodes this week, and there will be 3 episodes next week, and then it'll be done. I'm not sure if this was the best way to release it. They could have maybe even done 2 episodes per week, and it would have been fine, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I thought the show so far has been fine. It's somewhere between fine and good. There have definitely been other shows I've preferred. My favorite Disney Plus Marvel live action shows have been WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and Daredevil Born Again. But I'm invested in this, and I didn't realize until someone pointed out to me afterwards how one of the characters is put by Alden Ehrenreich, a young Han Solo himself. So that was a bit of a surprise. And there's also a connection to something that's a bit of a surprise. So yeah, I like the show. I think people are complaining about it too much, like a lot more than is necessary. But yeah, that's the internet, unfortunately. And now I'm just scrolling through my Letterboxd to see what some of the more recent movies I've seen are. So there's stuff I've seen from years ago, but for more recent stuff, I finally got around to seeing Moana 2, and it felt like a pretty nothing kind of movie. Um, I watched, uh, let's see. Oh, I watched Better Man. That was surprisingly more well done than I thought it would be. Um, I also, I saw the new Pixar movie Elio in the theater, and I thought it was good. Maybe not as good as some of the other Pixar movies, but I still thought it was worth watching. I get kind of confused, like wondering what people mean when they say that the original trailer from a couple years back looks better than what we got. But I mean, I feel like the version that I saw is better than what we almost got. And I mean, you can listen to the delayed replay episode on Elio, I guess. But even just basing it on the original trailer, I don't mind that they changed Elio's mom to his aunt, because I feel like we get so much of the story of, someone trying to get back to their parent and missing their parent or whatever. So if it's an aunt and the kid has like lost his parents before the story, then it makes it more tempting to stay in this other world, in space and whatever. And I also don't know if this other character, this kid alien character, Gordon, would have been in the previous version of the film. And I think he's a great character. Like looking at that original trailer and seeing Elio and Gordon's dad seemingly working together, it's hard for me to imagine that would have been better than what we got here. And yeah, the message is pretty obvious, but I think that the movie is still worth watching. And I did see that there's this comment from Pixar about how I guess they're maybe alternating between original movies and sequels, and I don't know like how true that is or what their exact plan is, but I do hope that we still get originals, and that the low turnout for Elio doesn't make them think that people don't want more originals. And I mean, the marketing also could have been better. It feels like they've been shooting themselves in the foot, like Disney or Pixar. Like, I don't know who's to blame, but the marketing for this and the marketing for those re-releases of Pixar movies that went to streaming first, I feel like there hasn't been enough marketing for all of those. And granted, I am actually interested in Toy Story 5 and Incredibles 3, but I just hope that they keep innovating. I saw that they're working on a movie that involves a cat, and I am excited about that. Kind of reminds me of the Kit Bull Pixar Spark short that was done a while back. That was really good. But yeah, I think Elio I would give maybe a soft 8. I could see it going down maybe a little bit on a subsequent view, but not too much. But yeah, I thought it was good. I feel like I made the right choice going out to see that instead of the live action Lilo and Stitch or the live action How to Train Your Dragon. Even though people have been praising the latter, but hearing that it it feels a lot like the original film doesn't really entice me to feel like it was worth the endeavor. Like, I'll see it eventually, just not in the theater. But speaking of Lilo and Stitch, it was recently June 26th, so 626, gave the original animated film a rewatch, and then I read these digital comics that I got through Humble Bundle of the Lilo and Stitch comic series from last year or this past year, written by Greg Pak, who wrote one of the Darth Vader series, and it had pretty good lessons about helping people when their homes have been displaced because of resorts and civilization and stuff. But the last couple issues felt like a retread of the premise of Lilo and Stitch, this series. Now, this comic series takes place after the first film, and I kind of get the sense that it acts like it's not trying to fit with the later sequels and series and stuff, because somehow Myrtle ends up becoming friends with Lilo by the end, and Gantu is somehow still captain, working for the councilwoman, even though he got fired at the end of the first movie. So it's really weird continuity wise, but it still has some really nice lessons, and yeah, I think it's still worth reading. But yeah, follow me on Letterboxd and on Goodreads to see what I'm watching and what I'm reading. I think that's pretty much it for now. I might be forgetting something, but you know how it goes. A very busy life and whatnot. And so tune back into this podcast, Delayed Replay, in 2 weeks. Going from dragons to dinosaurs, and next time it'll be something else. So without further delay, have a good day.